That's my man throwing down.
Campers, please put your hands together for Mega 64.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. We're Mega 64. I'm Derek.
I'm Rocco.
And you're here for story time with us. Thanks for coming out. Yeah. We're going to tell you some stories. We've written up some stories. And, well, Rocco, he's more of a visual storyteller.
Yeah, Derek's more on the motivational side. I've got sort of the archival media here for the visual. You know, we live in like an emoji world where everything needs to be seen. So I've got some images, some video, and if all of that fails, I might just, act stuff out. I don't know.
Yeah, picture's worth 1,000 words.
Exactly.
You might have more to say than I.
Thank you.
Well, let's show him a picture. Let's get into it.
Wow.
That's us. Check that out.
Yeah, that's us in high school. I think we were doing, what show were we doing? Pippin or something?
Yeah. We all met doing plays in high school.
Yeah.
In fact, look at this one. Well, you got that next photo here?
Oh,
we have a picture of us
Take a
doing
look at
plays.
this.
That's
Wow.
us doing William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah.
This is what we were all about back then. We also love playing video games.
Yes. Look at that. That's not me in the middle. That's another. I couldn't find one of all three of us, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
This is about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We met at West Hills High School in San Diego, California. Sean and Rocco graduated in 2002. I graduated in 2003. At the time, we all signed up to go to a community college that was about a mile away from where we all lived. It was late in spring of 2003 when we decided that we should try to make a public access TV show. We thought that that would be the best way to kill time when there were no plays to audition for. We could continue to act and write sketches and perform and be funny, and then we could put it on public access, and then we could get our friends to watch it on TV. It would be the same as being funny in class. Just getting that instant gratification from a small audience, because literally, who was going to watch this on public access television? Other than maybe our friends and family, or maybe some random kids just like us who enjoyed stumbling on awkward public access television.
We loved turning on public access and finding half the time it was like church shows, you know, like it would be like a religious group and they would use puppets and stuff. So it was always fun finding that kind of stuff. And I think that was our greatest hope, was that somebody would stumble upon it like that.
Church shows and like really bad magicians. I think that was the main competition for us back then.
Yeah.
So if it was only going to be people like us who were finding this show on public access, then hey, great. That was good enough, so we were going to do it. Putting together a half-hour comedy sketch show was easy because we'd kind of already done it 1 year earlier. Aside from making cast party videos to show after the run of our plays, we'd made a VHS tape of about 5 comedy skits that we had called Wiggle Vision. Wiggle Vision was the proto-Mega 64. It was me and Rocco and about 3 other guys from our acting class. You know, in high school, sometimes it's a Friday night and a bunch of guys are getting together, hanging out, drinking soda pop, playing video games, and before you know it, everyone's just kind of sleeping over, you know, for the night. There's a word for it.
Yeah.
It's called a slumber party.
Yeah.
So we were having a slumber party one night, and we just decided to pick up the camera and start making comedy. We were theater kids, after all. Three of the five kids in Wiggle Vision did not stick with comedy, did not stick with acting. Some tried music, but eventually all of them gave up entertainment and they all settled into normal lives. Rocco and I continued on this path. We didn't give up. So this time around, when we were trying to produce this TV show for public access, the first episode of Mega 64, we finally added our missing element. Sean.
Sean couldn't be with us here today, but this is something, I don't know if he's watching at home, he doesn't know, but he gave me a drive full of some photos that we could use today, and I don't know if he knows all of his MySpace profile pictures from 2004 or 5 were on this drive. So throughout today, when we bring up Sean, we're going to be looking at some of these profile images. The closest thing to him being here.
Sean, at the time, had a screen name on AOL Instant Messenger called Sean's a Lover.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like the heartthrob of our group.
He did change it later, I think, to Buff Guy Sean. So
yeah,
that's who.
Which
we'll
is even more intimidating.
Yeah.
So we had to get him in our show.
I'm still intimidated, a little bit. Yeah.
Now that we had Sean, we were Mega 64. We put together our first show. It was fun. We filmed it, edited it, and pretty soon we realized this could be an ongoing thing for us. We could produce a show every few weeks and celebrate the debuts by inviting all our friends over to watch it on TV, like a big watch party. Well, it turns out the rules for public access were if you want to run a series, you need to give them 6 episodes all up front before they run anything.
Oh, and not only that, you had to do 6 episodes, and they had to be on beta tape. Does anyone remember that? Does anyone have the equipment to convert anything to beta tape? That's what we were up against.
Right. And our thought was, no problem. What 18-year-olds can't crank out 6 half-hour episodes of comedy television on beta tape?
Exactly.
We estimated if we film like crazy and start editing right away, we could have the episodes done in about 2 or 3 weeks. Turns out we didn't know shit.
Nope.
That was a completely off-base estimation. That was totally ignorant, but still, we dove right in. It took about 9 months. And then some, between filming and editing, maybe a full year to produce these 6 episodes.
We had to go to a lot of grocery stores when we were filming our Metal Gear video. It took, days, weeks to get the right reactions of people trying to buy produce, while we're crawling around them or whatever we were doing in that video.
Yeah.
Took a long time.
This was a wild time for us. We're going to school, we're working jobs, we're trying to figure out how to be freshmen in college. We would hang out almost every day, but we made sure at least one day a week we would meet up and talk about Mega 64. I think it was Tuesday nights. Back then, when we were making this show for public access television, we dreamed that maybe someday this show would get picked up by Comedy Central or MTV or the Sci-Fi Channel. It could happen. We'd seen it happen before. This was before YouTube, back in 2003, 2004. If you don't remember or know what public access TV is, it's a local television station. In San Diego, it's Channel 23. And they'd pretty much run anything that people submitted to them because nobody made videos back then. My cell phone couldn't even take a photo back in 2003, and we filmed our show on mini DV tapes. So anyone who could make a show could be on public access, and we knew that shows like the Tom Green Show had started on public access, and Mystery Science Theater 3000, and those went on to national television. They set the template, and we wanted to be them. The idea was to make a late-night public access TV show featuring out-in-public skits, all based around a mad scientist and video games and this rogues gallery of characters, including, but not limited to, smart Alex smarmy puppets. That was Mega 64, the show, and that was our dream in 2003 to somehow get that show on television. All these years later, we've had dozens of pitch meetings in Hollywood over the years, and we've pitched a lot of shows, but it was never quite that show. It was always some sort of pitch meeting where we'd get pigeonholed into somebody else's idea for a show, like interviewing game developers or some office-style sitcom where we work at a game developer.
Yeah, a lot of the pitches that we would go to, they would almost not hear what we were saying or explaining about our own stuff, and then they would just kind of gloss over and then suggest some kind of stunt that would kill ourselves. Like, yeah, that's great, that's great. What if you guys, like, were in one truck and then jumped into another truck while you were speeding on the freeway? It's like, where did you get that? Like,
that,
no.
or things that were just extremely boring, like just to interview people that you don't know. It's like, well, we're not newscasters.
Yeah.
But that's okay. You know, because life goes its own way sometimes. We didn't quite follow in the footsteps of Tom Green and Mystery Science Theater, but we followed our own path. And that led us to appearing on The Tom Green Show. Look at that. It led to us working with Mike Nelson from Mystery Science Theater when he guest cameoed on an episode of Mega 64.
This was the most nervous I ever was being around anybody, because Mystery Science Theater was such a huge inspiration to all of us. It was really nerve-wracking. For the thing that we filmed, we asked him to wear, it was just a quick cameo where he was dressed up as a mall Santa, and I asked him to put on the Santa outfit. I handed him the Amazon box that we ordered it from, and he looked at it and he just went, "Wow, did you get this with Super Saver shipping?" And just that, I was scared. Like, yeah, I'm a Prime member. It was really nerve-wracking.
It was nerve-wracking, but we did it. We got Mike on our show.
Yeah.
Because we did finish that first season of Mega 64, and then we did a second season, and then we did a third season. It was 17 episodes in total. And the show never made it to national TV. But that didn't stop us, because we've been self-releasing our content for the past 18 years. Self-releasing our content has allowed us to do what we do, travel the world, attend events like this, make appearances, produce videos, and just generally have a pretty fun and amazing job. All while remaining 100% independent and kind of underground. And since we've been around for so long, we've seen a lot of other groups come and go, and we've learned a lot of lessons, and we had to figure out a lot of this stuff for ourselves along the way. Truth be told, Mega 64 just kind of happened by accident. We never intended for this to become our career, but somehow along the way, it just did. It went from being a casual thing with friends to being a real, serious job. And it happened gradually over time, and there were a lot of little, imperceptible steps that pushed it in that direction over the years. It was after the release of our first season on DVD, we got hired by Ubisoft to produce a series of internet videos to promote new video games that were being released. In 2005.
Oh, I was just going to say, it was really, like, incredibly ahead of their time. Like, when they asked us to do this, I think we had only put out, like, a couple videos. And for them, there wasn't even a term for that at the time. You know, like, now you see promoted videos or whatever they want to call it, promoted content. But this was really forward thinking of Ubisoft to just like ask us to make videos for their upcoming games. And I think a couple of these were even featured, like you could find them on the game disc itself, which at that time was mind-blowing.
Yeah, this was 2005. This was pretty groundbreaking. Nobody was doing this. Viral videos was not a term back then. There really was no word to describe what we were doing. We were pioneers. Just a few months earlier, Electronic Gaming Monthly had started releasing some DVDs with their magazine to help boost the sales of their issues. Physical DVD discs packed up with the magazines. You know what happened? People stole the DVDs and left the magazines on the rack.
That was the feedback that I got nonstop was, hey, I really love that DVD you guys did with the magazine, and I stole like 5 of them and gave them to my friends.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, thanks.
They were ripping the packages open in the stores and swiping the discs. Bad for EGM, great for Mega 64.
We did that for, I think, 6 different months, and when the 6 months was over, we were like, we'd be down to just do this forever. Like, people are finding our stuff. This is such a great vehicle for us to get new videos out. And EGM told us, no, people really are just robbing us blind. They're stealing all of them.
Yeah, the
Wasn't
discs,
a good deal for them.
But we were getting distribution for the first time.
Yeah.
People were starting to take notice of us. We were young, and all these things were just sort of happening one after another, and it just kept pushing Mega 64 more and more into being this real entity. And we kept taking the next logical step. So making the first season of our show has brought us all this work with Ubisoft and EGM. They featured us, and PlayStation Magazine that year put us in their top recommended holiday purchase list. We figured, hey, this is great. Let's do another season of the show and see what happens. So we're in production of season 2 of Mega 64, and someone at G4 Tech TV hears about us. They hear that we're making comedy content, all based around video games, and they ask us to come in and pitch a show. Now, this isn't going to turn into like a full oral history of every meeting we've ever had, or a beat by beat of every success and failure. This is just a story to kind of show you who we are. Friends, theater nerds, video game enthusiasts, and to take a look at how we got here, because it all happened really fast. Just going from hanging out, having slumber parties, playing video games, to sitting down with a television network and pitching a show. We'd only been doing this maybe about 2 years. Were we ready to helm a network TV show at the age of 19 and 20 years old? Probably not. And according to those executives, definitely not.
No.
They basically ran us out of there. They told us we were too niche, too narrow, that we'd run out of material very soon. We'd never make it very long in show business. That's what they said.
It went on to be kind of hilarious that G4 predicted we would run out of material after a couple years. Nothing further to say on that.
Well, by 2007, 2 years later, Mega 64 would become our full-time career. And it has been for every day since. Every day since October 2007, we've been working full-time on Mega 64. Here we are, 15 years later in Mega 64. We're here doing this keynote speech at PAX. Looks like those executives are wrong. We're still here. But when we did go full-time at the age of 22, that decision was kind of like an all-in crapshoot. We were gambling everything on Mega 64 working out. I had dropped out of community college a year earlier, and sometimes even to this day, I wonder, was that the right decision to make? At the time, it felt like it was the only decision to make. Mega 64, we had been tapped to do videos for Game Developers Conference, which is kind of like the Academy Awards of video games. And the job required a trip to San Jose. And that trip happened to fall right on finals week for school. So taking this job would mean skipping all my class finals and failing a semester of school. And could I have explained this to my teachers and worked something out? Possibly, but I didn't really have that kind of relationship with my teachers. And honestly, could they have really understood what I was doing in 2006, skipping all my finals to go make internet videos?
Yeah, that was a scary time. We had quit, but I had quit my personal job too, but I was terrified of, running out of money, and I was selling stuff on eBay. I had all kinds of tricks. I would pre-order games at GameStop to get the pre-order gift they would give you, and then I would cancel my pre-order and sell the gift. I think sometimes Ubisoft sent us games, like stacks of like copies of Just Dance or whatever, and I would, you'd bring those to like Walmart and get store credit, so I could buy all the paper towels I needed. But it was like we really had to, do whatever we could to make ends meet.
Right. We did do Game Developers Conference. So at this point, I'm a community college dropout. We're working for Ubisoft. We get about $900 per video to split between the three of us. I'm living with my roommates, trying to cover rent with my $300 cut from these viral videos. Rocco's selling stuff on eBay. I get a job at Barnes & Noble to help make ends meet. And I was so broke at this time, I remember that I would go to Walmart next door to my bookstore after my shifts, and I would raid the top ramen shelves. And I distinctly remember having this memory in Walmart, seeing that the top ramen was 25 cents a cup, and I felt so relieved because I could get 10 meals for $2.50, and that would be enough to get me to the end of the week when payday would come. I remember telling myself at that time that those were my starving artist days, that every artist has to go through that, these times when nobody really cares, and you're young, and the only way to make it through is to scrape and suffer until you get this big break. And I don't know if that's even true or a healthy mentality to have, but that's just what I told myself back then. So times were tough. There were a lot of tough times in Mega 64, actually. Times when there was no work, times when we hadn't been paid for months and we were struggling, times when we were arguing with each other. The secret was to kind of hide those tough times. Mega 64 is about having fun. There's this devil-may-care attitude to the whole product where the problems of the world don't really seem to affect us. If life has you down, you can escape into the comedy videos of Mega 64. So kind of the trick of what we do, the real specialty of Mega 64, is to make everything look easy and effortless. We've kind of been described as a friendship simulator at times because watching Mega 64 videos can feel like you're just hanging out with an old group of friends. Except we're better than your real friends, because we don't bring drama. There's no divorces and we need your emotional support. We're not falling on hard times and asking to sleep on your couch for a few weeks. There's no ongoing life crisis that involves you. We're just your hangout buddies.
Although I did raise a complaint when we went to that first GDC. You can see the top left picture there. They sat us right in a standing room area, and so this guy's butt was in our face. You could see, that's the only photo I have of us at that. So I don't know who's...
I took that photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was our view of that show. So that was one complaint. But otherwise, we never let it in. Never let negativity in.
That's a good point. You bring up a good point, because we do have life crises, more than just a butt in our face. We do have hard times. We do have bad relationships. We get screwed in bad business deals. And sometimes the toughest part of this job is just making it seem easy. I remember a time when I got dumped by a girlfriend the morning of a shoot, and I had to show up and work and wipe away the tears and start telling jokes, because that's the job. And I can go back and watch that video, and it's really funny. And I have this strange sense of pride about being able to accomplish it, but also this feeling like this job is weird. And sometimes it's hard to pull off emotionally.
It can be really difficult sometimes when you're facing something or dealing with something and they expect you to be funny. It always sounds weird complaining about a job where you're just making people laugh. But sometimes it can be really, really difficult when you have something going on behind the scenes and everyone just wants you to make them laugh. It's very hard to sometimes make that happen, but...
Yeah, you have to drop everything that's going on and everything that you're feeling and then perform and crack jokes and be funny and be a character. So, being a starving artist, working a regular job, doing Mega 64 on the side, that's where we were in 2007 when IGN offered us a job doing regular video work for their website. And the IGN job meant that every 2 weeks we had to turn in a new video, and we would each take home about $1,200 a month. Not crazy, but compared to how we had been living, that's like a king's ransom in Top Ramen. So we took the offer. We quit our jobs, and at 22 and 23 years old, we pooled our money and rented a tiny, rundown warehouse space and became the heads of our own production company for Mega 64. By this time, in 2007, that's our first studio right there. By this time, things are starting to take off for us. We finished season 2 of our show, and we're in production on season 3. And we launch our podcast, which as of today has over 600 episodes, millions of views. It's one of the flagship shows on our YouTube channel.
We were on Spotify even before Joe Rogan was. Or no, sorry, it was after. We're on Spotify, that's all.
And so is Joe Rogan. In 2007, we filmed our now infamous video with Shigeru Miyamoto, where we hit #1 on the YouTube top videos. We also started attending PAX. PAX 2007 was our first time attending this convention. We've never missed a PAX since then.
By the way, the only photos I had offhand for PAX were our friend Garrett relaxing in our booth, and then I think he was meeting with the Joker family here. I'm not exactly sure. He's embracing the Joker. I'm not really sure. But it was fun. It was a fun PAX. It was good.
Yeah, it was. And here we are 15 years later, now we're the keynote speakers. The secret to Mega 64's longevity is progress, always trying to move forward, never moving backwards. Sometimes there's long stretches when it seems like there is no way to move forward. That's when you focus on just not moving backwards. Take, for example, the Mega 64 studio. We currently run our videos out of a 3-story, 5,000 square foot studio. We have sound stages, editing rooms, cyclorama green screen, everything we need. It's wonderful. For years, I would drive past this building wishing someday we could have it as our studio. The building used to belong to some other production company in San Diego, and they put their name right on the front of the building. So on my way to our tiny Mega 64 warehouse that was essentially a converted garage, I would look at this production house and just wonder, how? How can they have this? Drove past it for years. And then one day, it was up for rent. But we still weren't successful enough to afford it. Not outright. Like, maybe we could have tried, and if we moved in there and found we overextended ourselves, that would be the end. Everything would fall apart. We could have lied to ourselves and said we were popular enough to make the money to cover it. But if we were wrong, everything would be over for us. Trying to make progress is tough sometimes. The for rent sign on that building eventually came down and we missed our shot. Years later, still driving past this damn building every day, and we see the sign has gone back up, for rent. This time, we think we might be ready. We're more popular. And not only that, when we call and take a tour of the studio, we see that it has been trashed.
Yeah.
The floors are ripped out. There's graffiti on the walls, holes in the walls. Literally, the realtor took us to see this place, and there's an old dump in the toilet and a dead rat on the floor.
Yeah. That was a great introduction. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Now we know this is a place we can afford.
Yeah. Yeah.
We negotiated a deal with the landowners where we would pay a fraction of their asking price with the understanding that we would rehabilitate the building, bring it back up to snuff. New floors, new walls, new paint, remove the holes, remove the dookie and the rats. They liked us and they agreed.
Who ended up getting rid of the dookie? I can't remember.
It was Garrett.
Oh, okay, yeah. It was definitely not me. Yeah.
Yeah. Neither of us.
Yeah. No.
So we got our dream studio, and it happened exactly the same way most things happen for Mega 64, not through the direct path or the front door, but through crimping and saving and wheeling and dealing and trying to find the sideways entrance or the alternate path to reaching these goals, creating some gimmick or some special circumstance that lets us capitalize on these opportunities when logically we should not be able or capable of doing all these things we do, yet somehow we are. Even this keynote. Come on. We know why we're here. You'd probably be listening to Kojima right now if this was a normal year.
There's definitely Miyamoto would have been up here. We were.
But it's not a normal year. It's pandemic.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of great keynote speakers maybe didn't answer the phone this year. Of course, this would be the year Mega 64 comes to do the keynote. This is so on brand for Mega 64. But hey, we'll take it.
Definitely.
This is the kind of situation Mega 64 thrives in. It's like we're the professional B squad, or the internet's underdogs. We used to hate it, but now I think we've learned to accept it and use it to our advantage. I wish we could share a story about how we made like $1 billion, but that's really not the kind of success we've had. Mega 64 is sustainable, and we support our small crew of employees, but we've never really had that big flashpoint moment. No TV show greenlit, no movie deal, never got that big break. With all the content we put out, 3 seasons of our show, 600 plus podcast episodes, 190 million YouTube views, still never got that big break. 18 years of being independent, self-releasing Blu-rays, vinyl records, launching a merchandise and clothing line. 18 years of nurturing a fan base and a dedicated audience, all on our own. Just a couple of high school theater geeks. For years, we were doing all these things just waiting for the right people to take notice because, like we said, Mega 64 is always growing and never shrinking and always making progress, even if that progress is brutally slow. It's steady, and slow and steady wins the race, right? Well, after a few years, it started looking like that big break might not happen. Maybe it was time to quit. There were a couple of moments over the years when it seemed like maybe it would be a good time to quit. Things just aren't going how you want. You reach a certain age and you're not as far along as you'd hoped you'd be. You think about giving up. The thing about being independent is you don't have a boss, no one to motivate you or guide you, but also no one to fire you. You cannot be fired when you're independent. The only way to lose your job is to quit. Every day you don't quit, that's another day you've extended your career. So you want to know the secret to longevity in this business? Just don't quit. Don't walk away. Don't give up your power. When you're working on a creative project, it can be tough to see it through to the end. Sometimes it can be tough to even know what the end goal is because that goalpost keeps moving. What I think gets us through in moments like that is just to keep working, because as long as you're doing something, staying busy, and then you're changing your circumstances, and that's progress. The only real finality in this business is when we decide we're done. Until then, no one really has the power to stop us. They can hold us back, but they can't make us stop. So for years, we were working and hoping and waiting for someone to give us that deal to put us in TV or in theaters. And after a while, we just kind of realized, if no one's going to give this to us, we're going to have to make our own big break. So we decided to be a fully independent, completely insular company without outside input or influence from a major network. Basically what we were already doing, only now we didn't fight it, we owned it. Being completely indie is tough when you're little fish in a big pond of media and entertainment, but it actually rules when all those established institutions start to crumble. Being independent, we get to define our own success. We get to decide what happens to us next. If we were under the umbrella of a bigger corporation and they start shutting down, what could we do? What can you do? That's when being independent actually becomes really appealing. Say, for example, when the global pandemic hits. Because when COVID-19 hit, Mega 64 was one of the few production houses that was able to carry on with business pretty much uninterrupted. Like everyone else, we initially shut down, but because of our small size and insulated crew, we were able to bounce back quickly. And for a time there in the beginning, most of the major TV networks shut down, but we were still going. NBC was not producing new episodes of SNL or The Tonight Show, but we were still going. And for a moment, it felt like we were outperforming the major TV networks. Our viewership skyrocketed. People needed something to watch when they were stuck at home, and we wanted to give it to them. 2020 may have been our most successful year ever.
A lot of companies reached out to us during that time because they couldn't find other companies or groups or whatever to make commercials or make any other kind of filmed programming, and we were there to do that. And our live stream viewership, all kinds of stuff across the board went way up just because we didn't stop.
Right. When the conventions around the country were canceled, we staged our own faux convention, streaming it on Twitch. We set up a booth just like the one you'll find in the exhibit hall at this convention, and we exhibited. We tried to bring the convention experience live to people in their home. We had panels, we filmed fake security checkpoints, we made comedy skits about the nightmares of finding parking, getting food, finding a bathroom at a convention center.
Yeah, $20 pretzels, you know.
Everything.
The whole bit.
People loved it. It was such a success that we followed that up with more extravaganza events. Every 6 weeks, we were doing another day-long stream. Shows like 64X, 64 Day. We did a Halloween special called Halloween Interactive Hell Festival. We did something called the Board Game Olympics. And all of these streams kind of mixed live theater and sketch comedy. This is how we were able to keep going and adapt. Kids who like to play video games and watch movies. That was us. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I got choked up here. How were we able to adapt? By doing what we had always done. Working on projects that we thought were cool and releasing them ourselves. That is our story. We are a couple of friends. Theater geeks and kids who love to play video games. Kids who love to watch movies, a group of friends that like to goof off and have fun, who try to stay dedicated to doing that for as long as we can. I think we have kind of humble beginnings, and I think our story is a lot of navigating a somewhat rocky path. But maybe that story sounds similar to your story. We've been attendees at PAX, we've sat in that audience, we've listened to some awesome people share their stories on this stage. We've watched past keynotes, and we've wondered, will that be us someday? Will we be good enough? If our story sounds like your story, then you should know that you can be up here too someday. You can find your way, you can have your success, and you can make it to the top. But you have to remember that it might be a different path than you're expecting, and you have to make sure you don't give up before you get there. Thanks.
Thank you.
Rocco, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, just want to make sure everyone saw these photos. Let's see. Here's another. This could have been us in 2020. Luckily, we survived. Yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much. I think we've been to almost every PAX almost since the beginning. We might have missed the first one, but we've been to just about everyone since then, and everyone is always so welcoming, and we just love being here, and we were really happy to return, and it's an honor to be on this stage. So thank you guys very much for, you know, being there through the years, and thank you to PAX for putting this on, and yeah.
Yeah, and thank you especially for coming back out to this PAX. This is a special PAX, and we hope to see all of you on the exhibit floor. This has been our keynote. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope you enjoy PAX.